So, welcome to our session on posture. So, why is posture so important when it comes to meditating? You know, if you go to any dojo, monastery, any of these sort of, I would like to call religious, but they're more spiritual, they're places where people get to come and understand themselves a little bit better. Why do most people you find sit in some sort of cross-legged pose? Now, what's the point? I remember when I first started and I went to my first silent sitting in a monastery, and it was just a 30 minute silent meditation, and I remember turning up and everyone was sat in this sort of cross-legged pose. And whilst I hadn't done a lot of practice like that, I figured, I could probably do that. But when I sat down and I sat into the pose, and even then I was still thinking, this isn't too bad. And then all I remember is sort of the abbot or the monk, I can't remember what his name was. He just sort of said, okay, 30 minutes of silent sitting. We did a little prayer beforehand, and then he rang the bell. And the first few minutes sitting, probably not like this, probably a bit more like this, but over the years and lots of poking and prodding by different teachers have got me to sort of open my shoulders up a little bit more. I realised after like 5 minutes, or not even that, just how painful sitting like this can be. And what I had hoped for was a meditation, was in fact pain management. I remember sort of after about 3 or 4 minutes of this silent practice, just sort of beginning to look around the room at all of these other people that were sitting as well, and thinking, how the hell are you doing this? This is the most painful thing I've been through in my life. And I remember sort of sitting there, and I started to sweat, and anger and frustration and all this sort of stuff started coming over me. Like, what was I doing there? This is not for me. I remember looking directly at the teacher at the front and thinking, how long is this 30 minutes going on for? And I kept shuffling about and I couldn't get myself comfortable, and it was the most unenjoyable 30 minutes I've ever done of meditation before in my life. Now, what I didn't realise was I jumped into sort of more of an advanced class accidentally. There wasn't any beginners in that session other than myself. And that was for no other reason other than the fact that I thought that I was better than I was. But what I began to learn, and why people or practitioners tend to sit like this, there is some real benefit in 3 different ways. And I would stay all the way till the 3rd way, because they're incredibly important. So posture, whilst it seems superfluous at the start, and I would say, if you're getting into meditation, I would just start with getting comfortable. If it means lying back in your chair and getting comfortable and listening to the guidance or whatever it is, start there. Okay? Try and get your mind thinking that this thing that you're going to be doing is actually beneficial and enjoyable. Because I promise you put yourself through the pain right at the start, and it won't be long before you've exhausted all energy into putting into this. So start lying down. Sit in your couch. You do not have to sit like this. I have not heard any, or very little, in fact I haven't heard any, that have said, what gave me enlightenment or awakening was how I sat in meditation. But importantly, right at the start, don't worry so much about this posture, okay? Don't worry about how good your posture is. Right now you're just trying to become acquainted with this enigma that we have going on upstairs. So number 1 for beginners, don't worry so much about the posture, okay? Don't worry so much about how perfectly you're doing. And what I did, I just sort of set myself goals of getting to 2 minutes and 3 minutes and 4 minutes and things like that, and beginning to extend it bit by bit by bit. So I'd sit like this and then I'd lay my legs out. I'd sit like this and then I'd lie down. I'd sit like this. And then at the end, if I felt okay, I'd sit back up again and sit into my pose, still listening to the guidance. And what it began to teach was actually I can really begin to sit with this pain a little bit more. And I used to be pushing up against the pain barrier all the time. Rugby, it hasn't helped me, in all honesty, with meditation. My hips, my knees, my ankles, everything from sort of the mid back down is busted, I guess is the best way of putting it. But what this taught me was how I can begin to rest up against this stuff that I thought was incredibly unenjoyable and uncomfortable and be with it and tend to it. And that's where we evolve with our posture. So get yourself comfortable at the start. First few weeks, lie down, do whatever you want to do. Then bring some attention. Try and start sitting like this. Okay? So number 2, the posture. And I already alluded to it just before, is as we begin to sit in this way, it becomes comfortable. It actually allows us to sort of breathe better during practice. And what you'll find is actually your posture starts becoming part of sort of your anchor. You know, we have all these other anchors, and I'd go and check one of my other videos on these anchors that we have during our practice, you know, breath, sound, taste, touch, all these different things that we can bring our attention back in. Actually, my posture can be. And my posture actually becomes part of my practice. And if you want to find out, I'm going to be doing another video called the 7 points of posture, which is on just after this. So number 2 is as we begin to sit like this, as we begin to sort of become more comfortable with sitting in this type of posture, it becomes easier. Your meditation becomes simpler. It's like I have heard many teachers talk about the energies just starts flowing differently. You know, we can really get the sense of breathing down into our lower belly and all these sort of things that they talk about in practice. You know, this lower belly breathing rather than sort of all the shoulder stuff that you see going on. You're breathing down into the stomach and using that diaphragm, which has so many wonderful side effects of diaphragmatic breathing. You know, massaging that sort of vagus nerve, which runs throughout our body and helps relax us. It's basically part of our relaxation response system. You know, I used to sit very hunched over and all the rest of it because rugby and weights and all the rest of it, and typing frenetically at a desk. But as we begin to sort of open up our shoulders and rest comfortably in this pose, it becomes more enjoyable, and the posture becomes part of the practice. The posture becomes one of the anchors. And number 3. So number 3 with regards to posture and why we sit like this, I'm just going to say is do not think that you need to get into some sort of what they call is the full lotus. So those people that can kind of get their feet all the way up and onto their things, onto their thighs like that. Again, you know, I was called keg legs for a reason. It's not because these things are thin and wiry, it's because they're very short, wide and stumpy. And rugby has taken any ability of me getting some sort of flexibility out of them. You know, maybe it will come with time, and I've got this far over the last 10 years. You know, I couldn't sit for 30 seconds in all honesty. And now I can comfortably sit for an hour, hour and a half. So it just shows that a lot of that sort of mind over matter, it does actually work. But coming back to sort of, you don't have to sit with your feet up like that. You don't even have to sit, you know, with the 1 foot up or anything like that. Importantly, the way I was taught was just sit down. You know, just sit down and get comfortable. Okay, and then you go through your posture like that, which, as I was saying, is going to come on the next video. So don't think that you have to get your feet up. If you can, amazing, awesome. You know, see lots of people do that as well. Or some people get it so that their knees are so pointed down, they just have their feet sort of across the ways like that, so the knees can't quite see it, but their knees are sort of pointing out and the sort of knees are pointing down, and they have their legs just rested alongside like that. You know, I can often get into that pose too. But generally, I just like the idea of just sitting down, you know. I remember my teacher just saying, just sit down and shut up. And not because I was talking too much, but because it's about just sitting down with you. You know, you're just stopping all the dialogue, the stuff that's stopping you from just sitting down. Okay? So thank you so much for your time. If you'd enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to subscribe or like or share. It'd be much appreciated. Really trying to get the word out there. Also, stay tuned for the next video where we're going to be doing the 7 points of posture. If you are already sitting like this and you just want to get a little bit better at it, come back and check out that video. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you again soon.